Hey everybody, thanks for joining me here today. This is Nichole with Topaz, and today we are here for the introduction to Topaz Glow, the latest released software. So if you're new to the software, I'm super excited to show you some of the looks that you're able to get with Topaz Glow, from subtle to these really bright and vivid neon effects. Tell you kind of the technology behind the program, go into the program. We're going to check out some of the presets and preset collections we have available, the overall user interface, how to quickly achieve certain results, and then go delve a little deeper into the program to check out the individual sliders and how to customize your own effects. So with that, let me go ahead and show you some before and afters just to give you an idea of some of the different types of effects you can achieve with Topaz Glow. All right, so this is a neon, it is a customized neon effect, but I started off with a neon preset, a natural neon preset. I believe it was natural neon 3. Here's the before image and after. Let me show you a more subtle effect, because we've had quite a few people say, okay, I don't necessarily really want those in-your-face effects. Well, Topaz Glow can definitely be used for more subtle effects. We have blending modes and strength sliders to give you a more softer and subtle effect. So here is an image of this bridge here in Peru, and this is before glow and after glow. So you can see it really added a nice subtle beautiful yellow glow coming in on a lot of that foliage. Give you another more neon type of glow. Really what Topaz Glow does is it looks at the lines and form of your image and develops these, or creates these different defined streaks of this electric light that you see, and it's based upon your original image. So let's show you this before and after. So with this image, you'll see a lot of these softer, longer streaks within the clouds, and a lot more distinct, sharper streaks of electric light here in the foreground on the rocks. And that's because in the original image, you have a lot more sharpness within your foreground here. So it's going to create sharper lines and effects, and a lot softer, longer lines within the sky itself. And that's how you're able to see different types of those electric streaks that are going through your image. Here is actually a portrait. I've been having a lot of fun using glow on certain portraits. It's really great for hair, but if you use it with the masking capabilities within a layers program, you can really have a lot of fun with it. So let me show you this before image. Here's where it started, and these are all glow layers. This was a blended layer. I used a blending mode just to get a really nice, beautiful luminance coming through the image. And then I started to add the affected layer, but I masked out her face. So really it's only affecting the background and her hair and her clothes. And then I continued having a more affected look with those streaks coming through in her hair and the glow, again masking out her face. And here I actually used a airbrush preset, and I'll show you that when we get into the program, to just work on her eyes and lips and eyebrows. So let me show you this before and after, just to have those pop out a little bit more and become more illustrative like the rest of the look. And then lastly, I used a blended layer, again a blending mode, to just bring in some nice, really beautiful glow. And that was my ending result. So those are just a few of the different types of looks that you can achieve within the program. Let's go ahead and jump on into it, and then we'll take a look at some other effects after we kind of delve into what's going on with Topaz Glow. So I'm going to take this background layer and just make a quick copy of it by pressing Control-J or Command-J. I am using this as a plugin within Photoshop CC. However, this is a standalone editor, so you don't have to have any sort of photo editor to plug it into. And then you can plug it into Photoshop, Photoshop Elements, Lightroom. You can check out all of the different system compatibility on our website if you want to see what the system specs are. But for this, I'm just going to go to Filter, Topaz Labs, Topaz Glow, and open up Topaz Glow. When you first open up Topaz Glow for the first time, you'll see this screen that says Welcome to Topaz Glow, and you can either continue your trial if you're going to be using it in trial mode, and it'll tell you how many days you have left on your trial, or you can, if you've purchased it, enter your license key. I'm going to continue in the trial mode for now. So if you're familiar with Topaz Impression, the program that we released a couple months ago, you'll be very familiar with this interface. It's the same interface. We have added a couple things, but very similar. Basically, you have your zoom tools over here on the left where you can zoom in and out of your image. You can also use your Control plus or your mouse scroll. Quite easy, so that'll just zoom in and zoom out. When you zoom in and zoom out, you'll see that your preview navigator comes up here on the upper right of your image, and you can pan and move the image around to see exactly what you're viewing within your navigator. You also have your previews here where you can just view the after image, or you can do your split previews, before and after, top, bottom, all different types of before and afters. Or you can just click on the original button to view your original image, or the space bar, which is my preference. Down here on the lower left, we have our strength, which is a basic opacity slider. It'll blend the effect that you've created back in with the original image based upon where you put the strength. So if I put it at 50%, you'll see only 50% of that effect applied on top of the original image. We also have blending modes. Now this is going to be really important if you're looking more for a more natural or subtle glow, or something where you keep that base image and kind of add on top of it versus creating a whole other effect. Blending modes are going to be really important. We'll cover that here shortly. So then over here on the right hand side we have our preset list, and if you click up at the top of the preset list, you'll see all the different categories we have available for you. We have a featured list that basically shows you just a few of the looks and gives you a nice broad range of looks that you can achieve, and kind of gives you an idea of what the program can do for you for these images. So you can just scroll through these just to get an idea of all the different effects that you're able to achieve. And then if you want to go into individual collections, just take this drop down and scroll through. We have our neon collection here, and the neon collection is going to be these really bright and bold glowing lines. And let me go ahead and just show you some of these. And those lines are created, like I said, kind of along the stronger edges and forms within your original image, and you can really transform your image into this light infused like neon effect like this. And one of my favorites especially are going to be some of these natural neons, which really boost up the natural color, or even things like the rose glow to really give you beautiful soft neon effects. So that's the neon effects. You can also really boost up the overall neon effect and bring in other colors that aren't necessarily right in your image, and kind of create new and bold neon effects. Next collection that we have is going to be our graphic collection, and that contains a really wide variety of effects, and it can turn your image into sketch-like drawings, such as these brilliant on whites, or scrolling through, we have the sketch outline, which is quite beautiful to start off with. You can create these really dark and lovely glowing fibrous effects. One of my favorite effects is this brilliant on black 3. It's very flowing. It's not quite bright enough to be considered neon, but it has that same characteristic of darkening the background and really enhancing the saturation, boosting that up and getting some of that electricity flowing through. Really with these strong, bold edges, and then you have softer image details usually in this particular collection. These presets are really ideal for when you want the edges of your image to really stand out, but have softer interiors and details like this. The next collection that we have is going to be liquid designs. This is some really cool effects in here. These are going to produce flowing lines and smooth color transitions. And so you'll start to see these really fluid illustrations. And as you scroll through, as we get to the bottom here, this liquefy one is very cool. I love this dizzy effect. It's great. And then you come down to these squiggly lines presets. Now, with the squiggly lines presets, these are more line designs and very, very highly defined, and can create these really cool effects like this. But when you blend it in with your original image, you can also just really have the details and lines of your image stand out. So let's say we do a soft light preset. You can create really beautiful, highly defined lines within the subject of your image and the background for this particular image without necessarily getting really colorful lines like you'll see within the preset itself. So those blending modes really come into play with some of these presets again. The next is going to be our Fur and Feathers collection, and that is kind of a similar effect to some of the liquid designs. You're going to have those high contrast and smooth edged flowing lines, and really it's going to help to separate and distinguish all those small details like you might see within Fur and Feathers. And it's going to work great with animals and hair, especially if you're wanting to get this kind of lined effect for hair. The difference is within the Fur and Feathers effect, you'll start to see a contrasting glow, a darker and a lighter glow usually. And that's just to keep the those edges even more defined than they are within the liquid designs. And it works really well with fur and hair again. And you can always come in and work with your blending modes to get just the details to stand out versus this overall effect that might come through with the preset. The next collection is one of my favorites. It's the Fantasy Collection, and this is going to give you a ton of different effects. Let's see here. We have things like dream and bliss. You'll start to see a lot of very muted and kind of matte blacks in a lot of these effects. But again, it's a wide variety, so you might see something like Electrify 2. Basically, this whole collection is, when you apply these at full strength, the effects are going to give you more dreamlike or otherworldly results that you're not going to find. They're very kind of out there, so they're in this Fantasy Collection. But again, you can use it with the blend modes to get more contemporary results or results that are less in your face but really help to define certain elements within your image. I really love to use these Mysterious 2 and Bliss presets and use them in the screen mode or things like that to get really soft light coming through with that glow. The last collection is going to be the Afterglow Collection, and the Afterglow Collection is going to have more diffused radiant lighting effects that are going to produce these more softer effects, and they're really great for delicate and ethereal results that you might want for nature or wildlife imagery, something like that. So these soft bloom 2s, I find, or soft bloom images or presets are quite beautiful on flowers, and the Radiate's lovely. Into the Light is going to be probably the strongest preset within here, but it's still softer and a little bit more muted than you'll find in other areas. So let's go ahead and try to produce a neon effect for this image, or customize a neon effect to go into our slider panel. The way that you get into the slider panel, remember, is you can get directly in there through the sliders over here on the top right. But I tend to start with a preset, especially if I'm trying to create a more heavy affected image where it completely transforms and illuminates my image like these neon effects. And I want to produce a more natural type of neon color where the actual color of the image stays, but just those lines and hard edges start to become like electric light shining through, and that darker background starts to show up. So natural neon, I think really good for this image. I really like that, and that's where I started off to get that final result that you saw back in Photoshop. But I don't particularly like several things that are going on right here. For me, there's just a lot of detail distracting from the flowers themselves. A lot of that green, bright neon color from the background is coming through. All of these things can be customized within the slider panel. So I'm just going to click into this again on the same preset on this little icon slider, and it'll pull out my slider panel. And here you can see all of the different adjustments that are creating this preset, and you can just come in and individually change some of these. For just to give you a quick tip, just to get rid of some of the overall detail, just come into your Simplified Details sliders and take that up. And you'll start to get rid of some of those details, those smaller details or less stronger details, and it'll just keep those really stronger lines within your image and let the sharp areas of your image start to stand out like you see here. But let's go ahead and reset the whole slider panel by coming up to this Reset All icon. And let's just go through this whole thing real quick, and we will talk about all these different sliders and how they're going to affect your image to help create these glowing effects. So the first area is going to be your primary glow, and this is going to be the where you start to create that glowing effect. First, you select your glow type. You can have a light or dark glow type, and what I'll do is go through some of these sliders and we'll switch it to the dark effect so you can kind of see what it looks like. But if you know you're going to want a dark effect to start off with, then start off with the dark glow type. I want to start off with a light because I'm trying to create a more neon type of an effect. So right below that is the glow strength. So the glow strength is going to control how much glow is added into your image overall. And you have your primary glow and your secondary glow, so you can always boost it up. So this glow strength is just working, if it's not strong enough, you can always come down to your secondary glow and work there as well. So as you take that up, you'll start to see kind of a stronger glowing effect, but it's going to be soft edged. And as you continue to increase that, you'll start to see these little streaks come out within the image and almost look like this fibrous effect that is starting to be pulled or extracted from the original image and applied on top. But it'll still be a softer effect that you're getting with this glow strength. To increase the effect sharpness that you're applying with the glow, you just come down to the effect sharpness slider, which had popped open whenever you moved your glow strength to the right, and take that to the right. And if we scroll in, and let me take that back down to the left and take that back up, you'll start to see that it just sharpens up those smaller details and starts to crisp up the edges of the overall effect. Once you take your effect sharpness up, you'll have three sliders that pop out: Electrify, Simplified Details, and Edge Color. All three of these sliders are affecting the effect sharpness that you're adding in. So if you change, or if you increase your Electrify, this is where you'll start to create the necessary look or necessary things that you need for the neon effect. So we do want to take that somewhat high, but I don't like how thick it made the edges on the edge of the flower, so I'm going to take that down a touch. And then we have the Simplified Details. We've already talked about this, but basically as you increase this, it's going to start to remove the smaller and less defined details in your image, allowing for the stronger subject matter to and sharper areas to really stand out. And then you have Edge Color. This is a really interesting slider, especially when creating these neon effects. The Edge Color is going to control or add saturation to the different edge effect sharpness effects that you added in. So just boosting the edge color a little bit is going to produce more natural colors that are pulled from the actual edges of your image or of your subject. And as you take that edge color up and increase it, you'll start to see much bolder, much more neon glowing lines coming from that edge color slider. And this is how you can really get a bright neon otherworldly effect coming through. But I want to keep mine a more natural type of neon effect, so I'm going to just take that up, attach to about 0.23, and move on. Next is our detail strength. And our detail strength is great because it controls the definition and sharpness of the image detail even more so than the effect sharpness. So you'll really start to see a lot of definition come through as you take this up. Now, if you have a ton of detail in the background and a ton of these more fibrous looking effects that are being created, you start to see that coming through. And that's where the detail size starts to come into play, along with going back to the simplified details. The detail size, as you take it to the left, is going to, it's going to create more effects, but they're going to be smaller because it's basically telling the program that you want to have more details in your image. You want there to be more details in your effect. So by creating more details, the overall effects become sharper and smaller, but you'll see more of them. As you take your detail size to the right, it's telling the program I want less details but bigger. So you'll start to see much more contrasty looks coming through like this, and these larger edges are going to be much more highly defined than they are here, where it's much smaller, more intricate looks. Now I kind of like the smaller intricate look here, so I'm going to leave this detail size down, but I don't like all of this kind of crazy background detail coming through. So I'm just going to hop on back up to my simplified details and just push that up a little bit more to get rid of some of that. All right, so the next couple sliders are actually very important when creating a neon effect. It's going to be the brightness and contrast. As you take your brightness up or down, it's going to take your brightness of your image up or down. But as you take your image brightness down, it'll take that underlying image brightness down, but all of these effects that we've created on top of the image will stay. So we can take our brightness down quite a bit and still have this these neon edges that are starting to shine through from the flowers shine through and stay there. So you can really take that background down to get that darker effect that you might want for neon effects while still maintaining these really beautiful glowing lines. And then we come to our contrast. If you want to make those glowing lines stand out even more against your darker background, just increase that contrast, and it's going to really boost up the brightness and saturation of the neon effect, and it will increase the darkness of your background as well. So you can really boost that up and start to make these beautiful effects. Then we come down to our saturation, and the saturation is going to really work on the original image saturation a lot more than it necessarily will on the overall effect. But if you still see quite a bit of your original image through this neon effect, which we do, you'll really be able to boost up that saturation really quickly, or take it all the way down, and this is how you start to create more drawing effects. Note that even when you take your saturation all the way down, if your edge color has been increased, it's going to produce color into those electrical streaks of light that are coming through. If you want it to be completely white on black or black on white, you can just take that edge color down. But I'm going for a more vivid effect, so I'm going to take my saturation way back up. And then we come to our line rotation. Our line rotation, I have to just kind of put it out there that it's not used a ton unless you have something that has very intricate, sharp points on it. So this one doesn't necessarily have that for me to show you, but what it does is it will turn the points of those streaks of light and just turn them left or right, or just rotate them around. So you can kind of determine, it doesn't really work for this one very well, but you can kind of determine which way the tips are pointed. And smaller movements on this one are going to show you a little bit more of what this particular slider does. But for this example, I'm just going to go ahead and double click it to get it back to 0. And then we have our glow spread, and this is going to control how wide and spread out the glow effect appears. So as we take that up, it's just going to feel like it just kind of broadens and and boost that glow a little bit more into the image. When you're working with a softer glow effect and less of the neon, you'll really start to see that glow spread take an effect. So now within the primary glow, we've created this neon effect. Here's before and after. So I'm fairly happy with this, but you can always add to it and create even more stronger effects within the secondary glow. Or it allows for you to kind of create complementary glow. So if I want to add dark glow to my light glow, I can really start to get this contrasting effect. Let me show you real quick this glow type light and dark, how that works. Okay, so here's our primary glow, the dark glow. Instead of producing more bright and electrical type of energy within those forms and lines in your image, you'll start to see a darker lines and effect applied. So you can create all different types of different glow within this program. So let's go into the secondary glow just real quick, because a lot of the sliders are exactly the same. You have your glow strength slider, which is going to do the exact same thing as the primary glow slider, but again, we'll just increase. Then you have your effect sharpness here as well. You have your electrify, and the electrify is going to, if you've already added electrify in your primary glow and then you add it here as well, it almost feels like it's a little bit more of a sharper electrifying effect, which I kind of like with this secondary glow. You also have a simplified details within the secondary glow as well, and a brightness and contrast. And I love, if I'm creating these neon effects, to really come in and work with my brightness and contrast with both of these glows, because this is where you can really start to get some interesting effects. So I'm going to take my brightness up, but leave my contrast quite high here. Maybe take my simplified details a little bit down. And then we have the line rotation here as well, and the glow spread. So very similar sliders within the secondary glow. If I wanted to add dark on top of light, I can just click on that dark glow, and you'll see the effects that we've applied within the secondary glow are darker on top of that lighter glow in the primary one. For this effect, it doesn't really work, but just to give you an idea of what it does. The next module is going to be the color module, and here you're able to work on the hue, saturation, and lighting of different color ranges, or on an overall effect. And this is great for really being able to boost up certain colors and just certain color ranges within your image to have certain areas. So if I want to make my green a little bit more saturated, I can come in and take my green saturation up, maybe make it brighter. That was way too bright. Let me take that back down. All right, now I can come in and work on my magenta and maybe push that saturation up as well. Maybe I'll even take that lightness up. You can just come in and individually change all of these things. And if you want to change the hue a little bit, you can do that as well within the individual color ranges. So you can create different types of neon colors within this neon effect, or any of the effects within glow. And if you want to just do an overall saturation boost, you can come over here all the way to the left swatch where it starts off, where you see several of the colors on the color wheel, and that's just going to be your overall effects. Last module within Topaz Glow is the finishing touches. And here we have several ways just to kind of give your image that last finishing touch. You have your effect coverage, and the effect coverage is kind of like a vignette, but for the sharper effects within your image. So as I take my effect coverage up, you'll start to see that it has come into the middle, so only the sharper effect sharpness is seen within the middle parts and not so much on the edges anymore. And then you can make that a much more distinct transition by changing the coverage transition. If you take that to the left, it's going to really allow you to see how it just has that sharpness here in the middle and softens up those edges. But if you want it to be a much softer transition, you can come to the right and make that a much softer transition. But this is cool because it allows for the actual sharpness and detail to be driven where you want your eye to go, versus it's not going to necessarily just darken the edges, it just softens them up. So it's more of a coverage vignette versus a regular vignette. The next slider we have is the smudge slider, and the smudge slider is great, especially when trying to produce kind of dreamlike or flowing lines. You'll see a lot of the smudge is used within the fur and feathers and the liquid design collections, just to create really beautiful flowing color transitions. So you can really take that up or take it all the way back down to get a much more sharp effect. Sometimes I like to take my smudge really up high and then take my sharpness below that up high to really get lovely flowing lines, but then taking that sharpness just to define them a little bit more. And the sharp radius is just going to help to define them even more so. It's going to increase the contrast between your light and dark areas and really separate those. I'm going to take that down here a little bit. Lastly, we have our vignette size. As you take your vignette size up, you'll start to see that the vignette gets larger around the edges. And by default, it's going to be a dark shade, black, but you can come in and you can change that shade. If you're working on a white effect, you can change that to white or gray. But I'm going to keep it with black since we're working with a neon. And then you can change your vignette transition, which is similar to the coverage transition. It's basically just going to be how strong the line is between the effect and the vignette itself. So you can make it softer when you go to the right versus much stronger of a transition if you go to the left. And then you can change your vignette center down here in this XY axis table here. You can move that little dot around, and that's going to be your center point. So if we want our vignette center to be right there on the flowers, I can try to move that around to where it's more on the right side of the image versus the left side. I'm going to take my vignette size down, maybe take that transition down. There we go. So here I've created a neon effect. Now this isn't necessarily the same look that I had gotten before, but it's a completely different neon effect and I really like it, so I'm just going to press OK and get back into the program, or get back into Photoshop for a before and after. So that is the official introduction into Topaz Glow, how to quickly achieve certain effects using the over 70 presets we have within the program. And then I hope you got a good idea about the more customizable features we have within the program by going into that slider panel and working with those to really get the effects that you're after. Now I want to show you a few different ways to work with the blending modes because I've spoken about them several times. I'll go back to that red hair model. And let's just start off with this background image and take that into Topaz Glow. All right, so when I initially started working with this image, I wanted to get a lot of effect on the hair and some really nice, beautiful glow, but I didn't necessarily want to get a super neon effect or super bold effect. So I ended up working with the blending modes quite a bit to get the effects I was after. So I wanted to kind of get that streaks in the hair of light, and I thought I could go to my Brilliant Fibers. This really starts to bring out really lovely, softer streaks of that electric light. It's still very affected, but I didn't like it on the rest of her, on the rest of the image. So I thought I would come down to my blending mode and just check out some different ones to work with. So I looked at the multiply, and I liked that quite a bit, and I knew I was going to mask it out of her face, and I was really just looking at the background and the hair itself. But I didn't like quite how dark the multiply went, so I thought maybe if I go to overlay or soft light, I can still get that distinctive look within the hair. And I'm not paying attention to her face really at this point, but this actually doesn't do too bad with her face. So here's before Here's after. You really start to get a lot of the definition and contrast and those kind of electric streaks going through her hair, but it's in a much softer way. So this is the soft light. Here's before and after. Screen does some very interesting things too. We'll go in and use screen here as well because it's one of my favorites. But I think for this one I'll stick with the overlay. So I get a lot of the darkness within the background. The overlay type of blending mode kind of multiplies or darkens that darker base colors and then screens the lighter base colors, but it still gives you this really beautiful luminosity. It preserves that. So you'll get this beautiful light coming through with darker and lighter tones. So it really gives you some beautiful contrast usually. So I'm going to stick with that and press OK. And then if I just masked out her face, I could, let me just copy this mask here. I can immediately get some really edgy results for her hair in the background and clothes while still maintaining nice skin by using this masking and layers tools within Photoshop. So that's one way that blending modes really come into play for me. Let me go ahead and show you, let's see, let me just go back to this flowers one, that's fine. Let's go back to that background image so I can just show you. When you have these neon effects where you create these really, really dark backgrounds, this is a great place to start if you want to add the electrical light on top of your image and not necessarily create these neon effects, but kind of blend it back in. Let's go to that Natural Neon 3, or actually I'll go to Natural Neon 1. And so I have this neon effect, but I actually just want to apply this type of effect on top of my image. If I just try to use my strength, it's not going to really give me the result I'm after. It's blending that original image back in with this overall effect, which isn't really what I'm after. But if I use a blend mode such as screen, it's going to take all of those lighting effects and just add it on top of my image. The screen is going to produce this lighter, well, it's basically going to take all the lighter colors and blend those together. So majority of the time when you're using a natural neon or a neon effect with this really dark background, that means what you'll do is preserve your original background and still get to add on all of this beautiful light and glow and within the image. So you can play around with the different blending modes to really customize the look that you're after. Thanks again for joining us here today, and I hope that this is a good introduction for you into Topaz Glow and how you're able to create these really vibrant, luminant looks and really illuminate your images. All right, everybody, have a great day. I hope you're able to join me in a couple hours for the blending mode session, but if not, we'll be talking to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.